I got a lot out of the class. I actually was writing a lot of notes. He covered a bunch of various topics, from education to health, to history, mascots. I mean, he covered a lot in a very short period of time, and I wish I would have had. If it was a question and answer period going on, we would still be there because I would have interacted with him and probably held up the show a little bit. But he really covered a lot, and there was a lot that I wanted to talk to him about, and which I was able to do now after his presentation was over. I got to talk to him about some of the problems that we have and stuff that I do now on the board of directors. I'm on the business side. We run the businesses of our tribe, 35 companies under our board right now. And I was telling them the importance, like what he's talking about, talking to these young kids about becoming leaders, being there, getting the education that we need to help run our tribe and help all tribes get together and have their voice. But certainly in the Seminole tribe, I need, and those 35 companies, I need a tribal member in every one of them that know how to run that company. That would be my goal, is to see a tribal member and be able to learn that business and understand it, and to make sure it's being run correctly. We employ a lot of non-Indians, non-Seminoles to help us run our company, and we need to start stepping up and start taking control of our own destiny and our own businesses. And that's what I do on the board side. So there's a whole nother aspect when you would talk to the councilman about the council issues, which those are the social issues. Culture being a big one is one of them he was touching on. So those were, he really covered a lot. So I did take a lot from it. He informed the kids really, really, really good, I think, to inform them what goes on in the other part of the country with the other tribes. I think that was really good.
So when you reflect on the part of some parts in the class, what stood out the most?
Probably a lot of the history that he was going over. There's a lot of history, and a lot of the history. Some of the stuff he talked about, I didn't know. I've known it, but he put some dates in there, dates and numbers, population numbers. That's very important, because they do not teach these things to us in school, in high school, and you find hard to try to find this information in books. You just can't find it. So when he was passing that information on, I was really, I was really understanding numbers. I'm an adult and I can understand numbers, and when we're talking about 20 million people, what that means, compared to 4.6 today, genocide and different types of things like that. He said, these are ugly things in the U.S. history that they just don't want us to know. They don't want their own people to know about. That was probably the biggest impact that he made on me tonight here, was that. And the biggest thing I was thinking about at the same time was I need to do something to help teach our young Seminole people about even our own Florida history. A lot of the history where all the Seminole Wars and all that stuff was all up there in Ocala. We came down from Alabama and Georgia area to get down here, but really our lands are up in Alabama and Georgia. We need to be investigating those places, those types of places. I've been to Okmulgee Mounds near Macon. Incredible place that we would need to go, stuff like that. That's what I was thinking. That was probably made the biggest impact, was when he brought up all the topics about history.
So as far as if you wanted to try to convince someone to take this class for their own good and wealth of knowledge, what would you say to them?
I would tell them it's good to go and listen. It is always good to listen to another tribe. When another tribal leader, speaker comes to see us, we need to have our ears open and listen to what's going on here, because the U.S. government will try to separate us. They always do that. They separate and take the weak, and that's what they try to do with the Indian tribes today. It's still going on. They're always bringing them into court and challenging our sovereign immunity, and the tribes have to stick together. We have to pay attention what's going on in South Dakota, in California, in New York. We got to pay attention to what's going on in all these different areas and different tribes, because if not, what they'll do is they'll start taking the weak ones down, and they'll come after the strong ones. And we're down here, I kind of told Jim, I said, we kind of feel a little disconnected because we're about as far south as you could go here in South Florida, and we have us and the Miccosukes here, and we're really one tribe, if what they are, but we're down here, and sometimes we don't pay attention to what's going on way out west, but we really have to, and one of the things that I've been really, really paying attention to at my time here, and even before I got here.
Okay, and last question, what would be the message you'd want to give to the youth of Indian country?
To the youth of Indian country, would be the education, just like everybody that always speaks is education. We have a hard time here, even with our education, with the benefits that the Seminole Tribe has here today. That was fought over for a long time to get, and we have it, and we're reaping the benefits. But the education, you've always got to have yourself prepared to take care of yourself. If nothing else is there, you cannot depend on anybody else to give you anything. You better know how to hunt. You better know how to fish. You better know how to take care of your family if it ever comes down to it. Because one day I think we might be just defending our land. I think you really got to get back to culture, get back to nature, and you know how to sustain yourself off the land, because one day it may come to that. It may come to that sooner than we think. We may be out there defending our cattle from poachers, because that's going to be our food source. It could come to that. Not trying to scare anybody, but we all have to be prepared, and that would be the main thing. Be prepared to be able to get back to nature, Mother Earth, and live off the land.
What do you think about the class?
I really liked it. It's basically like what I think about all the time, like how we're treated compared to like how like the Jews are treated and stuff like that, and like the genocide and stuff like that, and how people were they're still out to get us in a way because the Seminoles never signed a peace treaty. I like how we covered like everything, like how important like our people is to American history, like Jim Thorpe, like all the athletes and all the like politicians, I guess, and all the important people in the government and stuff.
So is there anything that you learned today in the class?
It's hard to put into words for me because I'm not really good with words, but what do you mean, just like anything?
Well, maybe you mentioned like the Holocaust, the European Holocaust, opposed to the Native American Holocaust. What are your thoughts on that when you think about that?
How similar they are. Like people think, when they think of America and they think of the Native Americans, they think of us like as whatever. And it's a big deal over in Europe with the Jewish Holocaust. They think that's worse and whatnot, but actually there was more natives that were killed than there were Jews.
And the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
It's not just a little bit, it's crazy. So do you think people should attend a class like this as far as a Native
I think
American?
they should. I think more younger kids should, like my age and on down, even older people, because it just opens your mind up to like so many things that I thought I knew, but I actually learned more here.
And then as far as like when he mentions the 7 generations, what do you when you think of the 7 generation project, what do you think of?
I think it's the kids growing up to represent who their people are. Like me as a musician, I want to grow up, I want to make an impact on the world of who my people are through the way through music, just represent my people through what I do through music.
And who's going to help the young ones get there?
Hopefully their elders, if they go to their elders. But a lot is trial and error, I guess. Like you fail, you go to whoever asks for help, they'll give you advice, and just learn from that mistake and carry on.
What would you say to some of the youth out there that feel a little disconnected to their heritage?
It's not too late to learn about your heritage. Like I never grew up speaking the language, but I'm growing up and realizing how more important it is to learn your language because it's dying out and it's soon going to be extinct. And so I'm trying to learn my best. Like I know like things here and there, I'm still learning.
Still trying to improve on it?
Learn now while there's people that still know, because maybe 10 years from now, my grandparents won't be here anymore.
So, just one more question. I don't want to keep you too long. All right, you got like the influence of technology, whether it's the iPads, the iPhones, the games, the game consoles, and you see kind of kids kind of gravitate towards that. We all did, but it's creating a disconnect between the younger ones and the elders. Is there any advice you have for the kids out there who are paying too much attention to the iPad?
Well, it's a material thing. And if you spend too much time on that and not realizing what's actually in front of you before it's gone, like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Like, you know, like, every day you wake up, you say, oh, I got my grandpa, my grandma, but you're buried in your iPhone. Like, the next day, they might not even be there. So if you're too distracted on one thing and not even realize, like, you can be distracted on just your phone and not even pay attention to your grandparents. And I know it hurts them to see that their grandchild, they want them to raise up the way they were raised, but instead they're being blinded by these technology, all the technology around. That's what I'm trying not to do. Like, I'm trying to, like, my mom calls me old school for some reason. I don't know. Like, I just have a phone, laptop, but I try not to use it a lot because, I don't know, it just makes people lazy. Like, I think hard work really pays off in the end and stuff like that.
All right, cool. Is there any other message you'd like to give to the youth of Indian country?
Stay in school, don't do drugs.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. What were you guys' initiatives on what you're trying to accomplish by introducing a class like this?
Well, they want to inform the youth that they need to become more involved in the culture and take initiative to learn, to preserve it, and to teach it to other people too.
So, if there's a kid out there that would want to know more about his heritage, maybe there's a disconnect. What advice would you give him?
Well, first thing I would say to go to the green corn dance that we have every year. It's very traditional and it's very sacred, and you can learn a lot about the culture. And then for everyday learning, you can go to the culture department or any of your relatives. I know I've asked at least 3 or 4 elders, and all of them have agreed to teach me the language if I wanted to. And I've been to the culture center to learn the language. I've been trying to learn it recently because I'm not fluent in it at all.
So what did you think about the class's 7th generation project, the theme?
I think he wants to give not Seminole, but any tribal youth the initiative to go out and do all these things. Like what he said about the government, like trying to get non-tribals to understand tribal government, tribal people, and I think he wants the youth to get involved, and the older people and the elders to get involved and to inform other people about tribes.
So what do you, is there anything new that you learned in class today? What new thoughts came to your head when a certain subject matter came up?
Definitely the biggest impact was the drawing the comparisons to the Holocaust and Wounded Knee. That was a big one. I've kind of seen it. I've known about the genocide of the Native Americans, but I don't really draw the comparison to the Holocaust. I didn't make that connection, and he did a very good job of presenting that, I think.
So now when you think about it, when you think about the Holocaust, the European opposed to the American, do you find similarities or differences?
Yeah, and just the pictures he showed us, that was very impactful, just showing how similar the pictures were between the Wounded Knee and the Jewish Holocaust.
So what's your message that you could give out there to Indian country youth as a whole? If maybe they stumbled across, and you could tell them a few things that would capture their imagination and maybe want to click and watch this video.
Wait, what was the question?
What advice do you have for the youth of Indian country as far as the 7th generation project class?
What advice do I have? I would say just go out and learn what you can. Find someone who will teach you, and just keep pushing them to, informing you more. Just don't give up on trying to learn.
And like you did, you ended up asking elders, and you found a few that's going to help you out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can rely on one, but it's better to have more than one teacher because you learn from different perspectives and more people can teach you different things.
I would like you guys to express yourselves on how you feel about trying to reconnect the youth of Indian country to their culture and language. When you think about that, what do you think about?
I think it's good because I try to do that within my immediate family. That's something I really would like to see.
And as far as what happens if you guys lose your language?
We lost everything. I mean, there wouldn't be any tribe. I think, I mean, the way I look at it is if we lost the language, it wouldn't be any tribe because now that kids grown up, some of them they don't speak, and the family don't speak. So soon it will be though.
It's coming.
So what do you think are some steps you could take towards trying to turn that around?
My grandchildren have been after me to tape it, and I haven't done it yet because I speak it fluent.
Only way we learned in the old days when I was growing up, because mom and dad speak to us in the language, Seminole language. That's how we grew up. And the time I was about 14, I didn't even know how to speak English. And I didn't even go to school till I was 15. So that's how I learned. And so what we need to do, we teach the kids now, today, but when they go home, they don't speak. So they're not learning anything.
But
so
the desire is there.
Parents need to learn to speak back and forth.
They want to learn.
That's how we, my daughters, two of my daughters, we trying to talk to them and talk to them, their kids, but they don't really speak the language themselves.
So another meaning to the 7 generations is basically it's going to take whoever influences the child, right? Teachers, parents, community leaders. So when you think about what it's going to take to kind of make sure that the culture is preserved and the language, does it take everybody? Does it take a little bit of whoever influences the child, or?
I think so because now we have more tools to teach. So I think we need to utilize all our tools, culture departments and parents and everybody, just everybody all around us, because it's almost gone. After our generation, I think there's no more fluent speakers.
If they think it's important, they can learn, because I work with the man, translate a Bible. He's a
Wycliffe
non-Indian.
translators.
He's a non-Indian, but he went to Big Cypress and learned. He learned and he speaks just like better than I do, and he understands. So if you want to learn, you can learn. So I think that's need to encourage them and the parents and the young people to start learning. That's how it's going to take. I don't know how long. Maybe next 2 generations. I don't know, but that's how I should take it and start doing that.
So when you guys think of like, you got technology, you got the iPads, the iPhones, it's all the stuff that draw your attention away from what's important sometimes. What do you guys think of when you think about this technology that comes around and pulls the young one's attention away from maybe traditional being taught or trying to focus on their traditions and all that kind of stuff? Do you guys ever think about that, the technological influence?
It's a good thing if you use it for, the right things, and just like money, that's a good thing, but sometimes we get into trouble.
As far as Indian country and the youth, what would you guys like to say to Indian country? As far as it pertains to the 7th generation philosophy and sustainability.
You mean how we should keep it going, or how we should? Well, education is good, and we have culture departments and all that. So I think we need to concentrate more on going after the youth and make it real important, priority.
You, sir? Any thoughts?
I don't know really, but it's just like I said, it's hard. So we can record it, I guess, different thing. I mean, to take it, if we record it, maybe they can take it home and listen to learn the language and history and that what they need to keep up and learn, all that. I'll write it down. I mean, it's not, our history is not written except non-Indian that wrote it, the books themselves. But Indian never wrote it. They never wrote it, anything, recorded anything in the history in our tribe.
We need more of this. What he did today.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So was there anything as far as what was your impression on the class?
I think I agree with it all the way, and I'd like to see more of it.
It's interesting to learn other tribe, because when I was young, I didn't know it was other tribe live out there in the United States until maybe I'd say maybe 30 years old when we were start traveling, when me and her and 3 kids, we went to New York and Indians there, and we met them. They're friendly, and they take us in like friendly way. And we didn't know there were Indians there, and it was nice to know in Oklahoma, and we traveled there, and New Mexico and all that, different places we have. Now we can learn. It's easy now to learn, because that time we didn't have movies, anything like that. But today they got most everything that we can learn from history, other tribes.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys spending some time with us. Appreciate you coming. if you guys could make it to the Big Cypress, or if you know anybody that might enjoy the class, let them know. We'll be there tomorrow, and then Brighton. We'll be there Thursday.
What to do is we usually put announcements in every mailbox. That's what we usually do. And even then, you know, some of them will come, but everybody's too busy.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we like to see a lot of people come and learn, but it's not happening. Just a few. So.
I would have invited my whole family. I have 5 children and over 20 grandchildren and over 12 great-grandchildren. I would have asked them to come to this if I knew, you know. We didn't know what it was about.
So we should probably try to do a better job getting the message out there.
I
making
think
sure.
so. Yeah. Even then, it's kind of hard, though. But
So-
he's a good speaker, so
He's great, right?
and he can make people understand. He relates to them. So I think it'd be good to have someone like that all the time. Have to interest the young people.
We can do more often, maybe in another year, maybe next year. We can be ready for it and maybe make more announcements and whatever can take to bring people in. I think it's a good idea. What he's doing is it's really good, interesting. And, a lot of people don't know what happened to other tribes and in our tribe, our people, they don't know. Some of them don't know.
We have it so good here that, you know, we just don't think that there's anything bad around the world with other tribes. So that's scary.
Well, I appreciate you guys spending some time with us, and guys have a great night. And I'm sure Jim will thank you too. If you
We'll tell him to.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
I
much.
appreciate it. Can you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about the class you just attended?
It was an excellent class, and a lot of it focused on the history of the Native American people, and I found it to be exceptionally interesting. And I've always bragged about the fact that I was educated in New York State, where they focused a lot on Indian history, so I always felt I knew a lot. I learned so much in this class, and I think it was presented with a compassion and an urgency that this history be made known to a lot of people who don't know about American history, and that's what I liked about this particular session.
Is there anything particular that you learned today, or maybe something that stuck out the most, subject matter, or something that kind of...
You know what stuck out the most, aside from what I've already just said, a lot of history and a lot of knowledge. What I remember the most that I'm taking away from this class, that I've already shared with a couple of people, there was a portion of his lecture where he talked about a buffalo hunt that he participated in. And what caught my heart, what made my heart really respond to what he was saying, is he made reference to killing the buffalo. But the respect his people had taught him to show to this buffalo, in the sense that in killing this buffalo, they were being blessed with shelter, food, and clothing, and that as a people, they were taught not to just take for greedy reasons, and how far our society has come in this day and age, where there's so little thankfulness for some of the things that we have, and how as a people, as a Native people, that was truly a part of who they were, and that we should never, ever, ever forget that level of thankfulness. And I was really touched by that. And with all of the other things that he presented and different historical facts, which amazed me. I knew that about President Nixon, by the way. I knew he was a supporter of the Native people. But what I took away from that was a reminder that we need to teach our children to be more thankful for even the basic things that we now have in life, our food, our shelter, our clothing. And that touched me, that story, his sharing of the killing of the buffalo.
Just a couple more questions. Why don't we know more about these issues in America?
Why don't we know more about it? Again, I think it's because we've become a society that is so focused on materialism and greed, and because the Native American people have not always been a part of that. So we don't want to remind ourselves through the culture and teachings of another people of how wrong we've been and how the choices we've made have actually hurt us as a people. I mean, we're destroying our society, we're destroying our environment. We've got so many holes in the ozone layer now that, he made a point, another good point, that the weather, Mother Earth, God, whoever you may want to make reference to, is trying to teach us a lesson. Wake up. Wake up and stop being so materialistic. Stop being so greedy. Stop being the people you've become. Learn to love one another. Learn to work together. And learn to work with Mother Earth and with Mother Nature. And we've gotten so far away from that. But this session today just brought to mind how we really need to start focusing on that. And sometimes society isn't ready for that. Congress isn't ready for that. People who enjoy their materialism and all their wealth, they're not ready for that. But they need to be. And people like this gentleman and these kind of classes, are going to help us be reminded of that. So thank God for people like him, and thank God for sessions like this.
Awesome, that was really great. You gave a lot of good information right there. Can you go ahead and just tell us your name and how you're affiliated with the tribe?
How I'm affiliated with the tribe? Okay, my name is Holly Billy. I am actually not Seminole. I was married to a tribal member, so I have a tribal name. I have a tribal daughter. I'm actually Welsh and Dutch, and I was born in Maine. But my family always made me aware of Native American teachings and Native American culture. New York State taught me a lot about Native American history. Our government was based on the Iroquois Nation and the different levels of government. That was the Iroquois tribe. We learned that in how important Indian history and Indian culture was to our government, which now they just choose to forget. I didn't forget. I remember those lessons, but I've always been interested in that, and then through my marriage and through my work, I've been involved with the Seminole people for about 40 years. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the Iroquois.
About the Iroquois
Yeah, because I
Nation?
did some researching for the seventh generation you come across.
Yes.
And it was all up there, the
yes.
northeastern part of the country.
Yes, absolutely. And it was the way they formed their government and the way they set up their government. Good old USA as we know it today, that's their system. That's their system. The different levels of government, the Congress, the Senate, the judicial, and it came from the Iroquois Nation and how they ran their population of people and how they ran their government. That's where we learned it from.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
What were your thoughts on the class?
Well, it was a privilege to be here, to be able to hear Jim speak. The thing that I took out of it that was most important was the importance of the connections between the generations, about how the tribal youth today, the seventh generation, how there's so much that they can learn, there's so much opportunity for them. And for myself and what I do, I learned that there are opportunities for the youth to learn from the tribal elders, that they can meet with them, talk with them, interview them, and be able to learn so much about their community, the tribe, the culture, hear the stories from the older generations about how they lived, how they grew up, how the tribe came to be. and from that they can grow up to be this seventh generation, and they can, as Jim said, complete the medicine wheel, complete the hoop.
Okay, is there anything that you learned tonight, maybe that prior you never thought about, or maybe what stuck out most to you in the class? What subject matter?
Well, it was good to see Jim tackle some of the tough issues, some of the controversial issues that are out there that affect not only the Seminole tribe but all of Indian country, all Native Americans everywhere. And things like the mascot issue, about issues of cultural genocide, issues that are not discussed in polite society, let alone in Washington, that are issues that affect Indian people every day across America. And I got the feeling that Jim understands that these are important issues, that you cannot sweep them under the rug, that you have to deal with some of these fundamental issues of respect towards Indian people in America before you can tackle some of the systemic issues that are in Indian country.
So as far as I overheard you say that you're from North Dakota?
I'm from Michigan, actually. I worked in North Dakota.
You worked in North Dakota. What are some of the things you experienced over there as far as Native Americans?
Well, my first real experience in Indian country was out of college. I worked on the Grand Portage Chippewa Reservation, and I had an amazing experience living and working within an Indian community, a small community. And after that, I worked with members of the 3 affiliated tribes in North Dakota, helping to teach others about the history and culture of the tribe. And from all of those experiences, I really gained a real-world experience, real-world understanding of what it's like to be a member of a tribe, what it's like to live on a reservation. And it's things that I learned that I never learned in school, that I never learned growing up, that I never learned in my own family. Important parts of American history, of this continent, of Turtle Island, that was simply something that was never taught to me. And it was something that I had to go out and learn myself, ask others to teach me. And I'm very grateful that others have taught me. They have shared their own history and stories, and in some cases their culture with me. And for that, I'll always be grateful.
Okay, awesome. How did you hear about the class, and why did you decide to attend it?
Well, I first heard about the class on a tribal email. I read the description. It seemed very interesting and very promising. And since I work directly within the community, within the tribe, with the history of the tribe and the culture of the tribe, I felt this workshop was a way for me to possibly learn more about how I can, what was I going to say?
Learn more about how you could.
Well, I hope to learn better how other people within the tribe, within the community, understand the history and the culture of the Seminole tribe, and also to understand where I fit in, where the museum fits in, where the oral history program fits in, and how I can use my skills and my assets and the resources at the museum to help the community, to help the tribe further its own goals, to help continue the culture, to help teach the youth today about the history of the tribe and make those connections with the older generations.
I thought it was very interesting to hear this kind of spin on history. Like, I knew that history is always written by the victor, but I never knew it was this bad against the Indians themselves.
What was one of the things that stuck out the most about the class? One of the subject matters?
About whenever he was going over the connections between genocide in America and the Holocaust in Europe and surrounding countries.
So when you think about that, what comes to mind?
about how much struggle those people had to go through then, and how tough they had to be just to live back in the day. Whenever you had people actively hunting you day and night for money.
So, have you heard about the 7th generation?
No, sir.
And now that you've learned about it, what comes to mind when you think about the 7th generation?
Heck yeah, man. Like hearing about young men talking that way.
I think about how we can change history in this time period. We can make history what it was really supposed to be written, not what they want to happen.
So, what do you think about do you speak language?
No, sir. No, I need to come down here and learn language sooner or later.
So maybe some point in your life.
Probably after college. Or, yes, sir.
Are you in college?
No, last year of high school. Couple more weeks.
What college are you thinking about?
South Florida State College, I believe it's called now. It used to be SFCC.
Yeah, what are you going to go for? What do you want to study?
Well, they're starting to offer a degree in agricultural technology, and if it looks good, I'll stay there. But if not, I'll transfer to ABAC and get an ag degree up there in ag mechanics or ag business.
It's good. So let's say someone is researching the 7th generation, and you could give them a message about it to maybe watch the seminar. What would you tell them?
Learn history, how it really happened with this program.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the youth of the Indian country?
No.
Stay in school.
Trying. Yeah, stay in school.
I appreciate it, bro.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.